And everyone. I'd like to now introduce Kim Flintoff. Hello, Kim. Are you with us? Kim is a
Yep.
learning future advisor with Curtin University, and Kim is going to be talking to us today about the Leeuwin Ocean Adventures. It's an industry, NFP, and Curtin collaboration for immersive experiential learning through the Learning Futures Network. Over to you, Kim. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I'll just pop up some, hopefully I can share screen here. Is it up there?
Brilliant, yes.
Okay, so I've just had all sorts of issues with Teams in the last few minutes, and I had to log out and back in. So yeah, so my name's Kim Flintoff. I'm the Learning Futures Advisor at Curtin University. I want to talk about a range of projects. Are you seeing my slideshow at the moment?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, okay. Sorry. Okay. So this, as the introduction said, I'm working with a range of partners on this project. So we've got the Leeuwin Ocean Endeavour Foundation, which is a not-for-profit organisation which runs a sail training ship out of Fremantle Harbour in Western Australia. It runs single-day events right up to week-long leadership programs, young people and adults as well, but there's specialist programs for young people. They sail either from Perth to up towards Broome, or they sail south down towards Albany, and there's a whole lot of different factors that are built into their program. I'm not going to speak too much about how and why their program works so well, but needless to say, being a not-for-profit, they don't always have the resources that they need to adequately promote all of their experiences, and increasingly they're getting a lot of interest from regional and remote areas of Western Australia. And part of the process of joining one of their voyages is actually having to come down and do an orientation program, having to come and do safety awareness, having to get familiarity with the ship, and just generally sort of knowing what it's about. And it's very hard to take a huge sailing ship out into the desert or out into the goldfields. So they started looking into the possibility of could they create a VR experience. And of course, being not-for-profit, they didn't have the funds to do it. Another colleague, Tim Robury at Curtin College of the Arts, who's the STEM coordinator there, had a strong interest in his kids doing design-based learning and using design thinking processes, as well as tying that to more sort of technology and engineering type outcomes. So there was this sort of marriage made in heaven, because he had a group of kids who had the year previously modelled the John Curtin College of the Arts theatre. Now they'd taken it to the level where it was actually right down to scale. So you could actually go in, you could move elements around on the stage, you could send the VR experience to prospective directors or choreographers or set designers, lighting designers, and they could actually work and plan and get a whole lot of experience within that space. You could even down to the point of working out blocking and all sorts of things in terms of planning performances. So he had a group of Year 11 kids who were reasonably comfortable with the basics of creating a VR experience, and so he threw those at the Lewin, and a project brief started to emerge. Now it became apparent fairly quickly that they weren't going to be able to achieve everything that they wanted in 1 year. So the initial plan was that they'd create a feet-on-deck experience just in 360-degree video, and that's what we've got access to. And the guys at Griffith have actually put one of those hub spaces up for me with links in there for that. I'm not going to try and manage that here today because I'm at home and I've got next to no resources available here. What eventually happened was that Tim approached me as the coordinator of the Learning Futures Network, asking if there were any industry connections that we could bring into this to assist the process. And as it turned out, at that particular time, we had some master's level students in our humanities faculty looking for internship placements. So we were able to place a master's level intern to work with the Lewin to scope the project, and also to work as a mentor with the students in the school as well. So we started to develop this connection. We've since also brought in Russell Scott, who runs Vortals, which I'll hopefully be able to show you a little bit of in a moment. And also working with the Lewin, helping solve some of the technical issues and also helping the kids upskill. So he's working as much as a mentor as he is also trying to showcase and find new applications for the technology that he's developed as well. So I'm going to attempt to just jump through a couple of introductions here based on organisations. So John Curtin College of the Arts, it's a specialist performing arts high school. They have music programs, dance and drama programs. They're also a teacher development school for STEM, and that's partly where this interest came from. The kids are all selected to come to the school, so they tend to be in fairly high achieving and highly capable students. So what that has an effect of doing is affecting the pedagogical approach to learning. So you're able to actually throw problems at these kids and let them loose and give them access to expertise, and they sort of piece it all together. We found fairly quickly with our first intern last year from Curtin, was at master's level, and he was reporting that the kids in year 11 at high school were rapidly overtaking his knowledge base and his skills base. You'd set them a task and they'd come back after a weekend and they'd solved a technical issue that the industry people couldn't. So we're starting to see these really interesting processes emerging. The Lewin itself is a large sailing vessel, and this is a summary of the project here on this website, and I'll arrange for links to get out to everyone later. And so what's happened now is that the students have got to the point where they have got some feet on deck experience. They're now moving into the level where they're actually starting to use photogrammetry and LiDAR techniques to create more substantial models of the entire vessel. And the intention is that over the next 4 years now, it's a 5-year project altogether, is working in partnership with the interns from the university, industry partners, the Lewin itself, and the school kids. The kids will actually be producing a whole range of different experiences, moving from the 360-degree video into a more of a modelling process. So you've actually got navigable spaces that can be used for introducing new participants in the program to the vessel itself. It can be used for safety awareness. It can be used for orientation. It can give you a sense of the claustrophobia that might exist in the sleeping quarters and the bathroom areas. And we can actually also then start to capture the details around the control rooms. And so we can tie this into a whole range of different programs. Operating out of Fremantle Harbour, there's also a maritime studies program run by TAFE. And we're looking at ways of tying it, so modelling the generators and the engines that exist in this ship as well, so that they can actually be tied to technical and trade studies as well. And all of these resources are actually being created and built by kids 15, 16, 17 years of age. There are some walkthrough examples here on the YouTube site. And of course, these are able to be played in a VR headset, but it's got the 360-degree video there, so you can actually navigate around the ship. And so the learning that's gone into these sort of things. So this is as much about creating VR experiences as it is utilizing VR products. So the kids are also coming to terms with the differences between different platforms, the different sorts of hardware, the nuances in the codes that are required, and all those sorts of things. And as was alluded in the last presentation, if you're working on a Mac 1 minute and then working on a PC, Microsoft product the next minute, there can be differences in the way that things are handled. So they're starting to come to terms with all that. Having the industry expertise of Russ Scott on board really does help iron out some of the problems. But essentially, a lot of this work that's going on is student-directed learning. The students are discovering for themselves the next steps that they need to take and having to go and investigate and study and learn, reading technical manuals, watching videos of other people creating work, and sometimes just taking in and experimenting and finding their own solutions to things as well. So it's been quite an interesting and exciting process. We're really looking forward to how this is going to play out over the next few years. And we're also looking at new opportunities and new situations where we can bring the same process together, working with other organisations to start meeting their needs and providing new challenges and new design opportunities for the students as they move forward. The students at John Curtin who are participating in this are actually doing it under the basis of a Cert 2 TAFE or a Cert 2 VET qualification. The interesting thing is, though, is that of the 5 classes of around totaling around 70 or 80 students who are working on this sort of work, they're nearly all holding down multiple ATAR subjects at the same time. They are doing this because of the passion and drive that it brings to their school experience as well. So these are some of the unintended aspects of working in the VR space. Is that it's starting to transform the way that kids think about their own learning, not as passive consumers of product, but actually as creators. And I think that's where the real key starts to come from. We're already talking with people who are using AR and VR applications in mine site control and all sorts of things, doing remote operations. And of course, through Curtin University, we're starting to have the links with the space science and technology areas, and we're looking at ways that we can tie these into things. We've got a group of girls at the John Curtin College of the Arts who are actually designing a spacesuit, and they've been in touch. They made contact with Andy Thomas, the Australian astronaut. They're also liaising with the head of fashion, who's doing smart technologies and wearable technologies and smart textiles work at the university, and they're bringing that together to actually design a spacesuit that can be used. And those things then can be also recreated and rendered in virtual experiences as well, so that they can actually be shared across the state to inspire and also be used as learning content in other contexts in other schools. A lot of the work that the kids are creating at high school level in John Curtin is being used as content material in primary school settings around the state as well. So there's some really fascinating things starting to happen. I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'm willing to take questions if we've got a few moments.
Thank you so much for that, Kim. That was a really great example of just how powerful some of the collaborations can be. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of collaboration is centred around what can industry partnerships do for higher education institutions, without thinking about what can we do with students, and knowing that, you know, what you've said there about students are actually more apt, if you like, to solve problems and co-create some of those solutions, I think is essentially the key there. Amazing work going on at the college, between the college and the higher education level of Curtin there. It's just amazing. Does anyone here have any specific questions for Kim? No? Wow, you're getting off the hook very, very lightly today, Kim.
That's great. to be honest, I don't mind.
There is one aspect to this, and I suppose it just to be clear about what's going on there, is it both research and the application? Have you got research groups working around this practical applications that the students are taking part in?
Yeah, we're trying to run a little bit of. We haven't shifted totally into research as yet because we've got schools and teachers involved. There's enough ethical concerns trying to do things in research at the best of times. As soon as you bring a school setting into it, it becomes amplified. What we've tried to do is we've tried to create some documents that capture the professional practice that's going on, and we're putting down all the contributors. So that can be the high school students, the university staff, the industry partners, and the school teachers. We're putting them all down as co-authors, and some of that work has been entered into international conferences with the IEEE and other bits and pieces. So that's what we're looking at, creating opportunities for academic recognition for student work, but beyond the school setting. So we're actually taking that into reporting under professional practice, but into research conferences and applying some of it to research journals and those sorts of things as well. Haven't had much accepted yet, but we're still pushing.
Well, you know, I think I speak for all of us when I say go, Kim. You know, to get over those ethical clearance hurdles is a huge thing, but moreover, that power of that students as partners, if you like, that realm is just incredible. And the fact that you're acknowledging their part in those journals and research is really empowering. Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking both Kim and Ben for their sessions today. Feel free to put your microphones on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, all.
Yep, really appreciate it.
There's a question from Leah in the chat for you, Kim.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't have chat
I'd
active.
like
So.
to know more. Where are we? Okay. How is the 5-year project length going to handle continuity for students if students are beginning in year 11?
Yep, it's not the same student. The students who start aren't the same ones who finish. It's really quite simple, and that operates both at the high school level and at the university level. So when the last year's intern, he's done a handover process to this year's interns. We start off with one at the beginning of the year. We've now got two because of COVID. We've had to change the scope because we weren't all able to get down to the vessel. So we've introduced part of the process is we're creating a documentary about the whole process, and the students. So we've now got a person who's taking on responsibility as directing and controlling the development of the documentary, and the other one who's doing the more of the project leadership sort of role. So. And we're just handing over from one group to the next. The high school students can carry it over 2 years if they want to, but there's also the opportunity to hand the project over to the next group. We've already got some of last year's students who were in year 12 who are now working at now undergraduate students at university, and they're also back and joining into the mix as well. So we're really building on this whole sense of community in a huge way and creating more and more opportunities as we move forward. There's some really interesting workforce development and other issues that start to come through as well, and also talent identification. So industry peering through the window are saying, actually, we want to keep an eye on that kid, and we want to give them, let's see if we can help them through their first year of university, and then as part of a recruitment process. So there's all sorts of really interesting opportunities that start to arise. We're talking with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry as well, looking at trying to amplify this process so that industry can actually be a far more active player in the whole thing.
Wow, Kim. Well, I think what you are developing is not so much a project, it's more of a landscape. That's amazing work, and I'm sure we can't wait to see the documentary. And I might just mention to all as well before we head off from this one that your samples are also going to be available in the expo space. So if you're heading off to the try it out session this afternoon or the real deal tomorrow afternoon as part of the expo, be sure to check out Kim's 360 objects in there and experience some of that great work that you've been doing. Thanks very much again, Kim. Really appreciate it.
Just to clarify, I'm just herding the cats. It's the kids and the teachers and the industry partners who are doing all the work. So I'm just a messenger.
That's all of us. That's what we do.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim.